Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the meeting of the Arkansas Highway Commission. I want to welcome those who are joining us via live stream with AETN. I'm Robert Moore, the chairman of the commission, and I'm going to let the other commissioners introduce themselves today. We're still in our COVID protocol, but we're happy to be a little more relaxed and comfortable here today, but I will, before I ask you to introduce yourselves, we will, if there's no objection, we'll continue to use our electronic signatures on the minute orders today as we pass them around, just so we're not shuffling a lot of paper. So first of all, before I introduce or allow the commissioners to introduce themselves, for those joining us, I would like to acknowledge our director, Lori Tudor. And if you want to say hello to everybody.
Hello, it's good to be here. Thank you, Chairman. And we also have some special guests in the crowd if you want to introduce them as well. Like, you want me to? Okay, after all this time, we haven't had many with us, and the staff's with us again today after, 15 months. And we also have former mayor, where is he? Oh, I couldn't see you. Former Mayor Harold Perrin, he's with us today, brought us cookies. We're so glad to have him here today. And then also we have Robert Morey. He's here and a great friend of the department. Joe Quinn, Good Roads Executive Director, glad to have him. Let's see, who else is here from outside of the department? No one? Okay, so thank y'all for being here. It really is getting like old times again, right? I really like it. We're excited, so thanks for coming.
Commissioners briefly introduce ourselves, and of course this is in contemplation of having a short meeting today that we're doing all this, so
Wow.
we'll take advantage of it.
Keep it brief. My name's Alec Farmer. I'm vice chairman and from Jonesboro.
I'm Philip Taldo, and I'm from Springdale.
Keith Gibson from Fort Smith.
Marie Holder from Little Rock.
Thank you all. We have a great commission, and appreciate the work that all of you do, and our director and all the great staff here at RDOT. Really have done a wonderful job over the last year of very challenging circumstances. So no objection on the minute orders. We will move to approval of the minutes. Everybody's had an opportunity to review the minutes March 17th meeting. I have a motion for approval. Have a motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No opposed. Okay, second agenda item will be consideration of the minute orders, and if there's no objection, we'll do as we have previously. We'll ask Dave to read the minute order. If you have a question, comment, we'll pause a minute and allow you to identify yourself and with those comments or questions. Otherwise, we will move on through the minute orders. Without objection, Dave, it's all yours.
Thank you, Chairman. Starting with, of course, minute order 1 has to do with the purchasing committee awards. This minute order simply approves those actions. Minute order 2, which can be found on page 9, authorization to participate in the Transportation Research Board's core program fiscal year 2022. Being part of this group allows the department to see and learn best practices, those sorts of things, and exchange ideas. Minute order 3, found on page 15, authorization to enter agreements with certified public accounting firms to provide on-call reviews of architectural and engineering consultants and their cost rates. Minute order 4, found on page 18, authorization to hire a consulting firm for the purpose of updating the Arkansas State Freight Plan. The current plan was last adopted in October of 2017. therefore needs updating. Minute Order 5, authorization to hire a consulting firm to help the department update its state railroad plan. The current plan is from October of 2016. Minute Order number 6, found on page 71. Develop policies to establish a dig once approach for installing high-quality broadband, which goes in line with the governor's Arkansas State Broadband Plan.
Let's stop there just a minute, just for a little bit of explanation. I mean, this is an 80-page document, a lot of information. In fact, I thought I might call on Mr. Taldo to, could you explain this to us in quick summary? Okay. No, okay. No, I'm just kidding. No, I know everybody. Everybody. On the serious side, everybody read through it, and there's a lot. There's a lot of information in here. I think we're excited about the information that is contained in there. A lot of it certainly is way above my knowledge in this area. But Laurie, would you be kind enough to address if Philip doesn't want to?
Well, I would like.
I want to say one thing, that it is a issue that I hear from other utilities, not necessarily broadband, but I hear a lot of from other city utilities whenever they have to move their services and things like that, that they can't always share ditches and whatever with other services along the way. So it's not just broadband that it. I know this one just has to do with broadband, but it's kind of an ongoing deal, isn't it, Lori?
Yes, but there's issues.
Oh, I know there's issues.
But what I would like to say is this is pretty cool, this minute order, how it came to be. And I'd like for Commissioner Gibson, he was instrumental in this because Representative Stephen Meeks, he had some legislation that would require this. And of course, Commissioner Gibson's background, he's an expert in this, and so it was fraught with some issues. So I'm going to let.
I just didn't go far enough down the line. And
you did. So I'd like for Commissioner Gibson to address this because he is very knowledgeable.
Absolutely, it's huge and hugely important issue, and the comments that Philip made are certainly germane in the big picture too, because we're getting a whole lot. I think we've all been contacted about such issues, and this will help streamline the department's policy going forward. So, Commissioner Gibson, if you'd enlighten us a little bit on it, please.
Well, I'm not sure how much I can enlighten you, but just to follow up on your comments, Director, there are, it seems pretty simple when you talk about it in the abstract that, well, let's just dig one ditch and there's going to be a ditch out there and let's put fiber in the ditch. Well, there are a lot of issues that arise when you're talking about that, and I won't go into all those, but suffice it to say that it's we probably need to get the affected parties together when we're making policy like this so that we know what those issues are and the concerns that the different affected parties would have with any directive that would be aimed at them. So I think it's a great thing to have a time where we contemplate all the issues that are involved, have the parties that are going to be involved in any decision we make at the table to have their input before we make it. And I think that's kind of what we were talking about with Representative Meeks. Rather than have legislation that hadn't really been thought through, give us some time to do that with the affected parties. And I know in my area, in my field with rural broadband companies, this is a really important issue for them. So glad we're doing it the way we're doing it. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir, and I appreciate that. As I said, on a very serious note, this is, I think, hugely important for the future as we go forward. And also, it's interesting that you can provide some expertise, and it's a good comment on the lay composition of board members that we bring to the table. Different folks have different backgrounds and are able to shed real life experiences into the policies that we develop. So I think we're fortunate in that regard. So I appreciate that. Anything further, Director, or we move forward? Okay. Thank you, Dave.
Thank you. Moving to minute order number 7 in Pulaski County, authorization to acquire 54 acres of land located along Baseline Road. This is for the purpose of relocating District 6 headquarters as the funds become available. Just for background, the current headquarters was constructed in 1963. Minute order number 8 on page 161 at District 7, Cleveland County. This authorizes the closing of the rest area on Highway 79. This rest area is outdated and a lot of problems with vandals.
And Dave, on that one, I just wanted to point out from your notes that we didn't get any, it's been closed for COVID, and we didn't get any comments from the public missing that stop. So
That is correct, yes.
they didn't care, so that's good.
Minute order 9, page 169 in Mississippi County. Approval to proceed with non-reimbursable utility relocation for a handful of the local water providers. Minute order 10, found on page 172. This is an improvement project to survey, plan, and construct centerline rumble stripes at selected locations. These stripes have proven to be effective, reducing the number of fatalities caused by drivers crossing the center line or leaving the roadway.
I have a question on that, probably for the Director. As I looked at the map of the roadways that are contemplated for using the centerline strips, what's the timeline and how's the priority developed as we move forward with putting these strips in?
That hasn't been determined. Once you approve us to go forward with this, we'll put together projects and we'll schedule them in as funding becomes available. So this is the first step of moving in that direction, and I can report that back to you next.
Are we using centerline strips in any 2-lane roads?
Oh, yes.
Where are they?
Well, on the map, if you'll look, the blue is where the existing.
Okay. Well, I didn't pull it. Okay.
That'll kind of give you an idea of where they're at today.
Okay.
And then it's working, it's really a great system-wide improvement to our system to make it safer. And we like those system-wide improvements because
the results have been positive in
Exactly.
those areas. I mean, where I have had occasion to engage before, I think they're very helpful in
they're
the
helpful.
world that we
And
live in.
and it's similar to our cable median barriers. That's a system-wide safety improvement that's reaped. We'll probably never know how many accidents or crashes that we prevented, but we know that they prevent crashes as well. And this is just the same thing. This will prevent crashes. We may never know how many,
Sure.
but it will.
Good deal. Great program. Thank you.
Minute order 11, found on page 175. Partnering with the town of Crossett in Ashley County so that when improvements are made to Highway 133, the city assumes responsibility of portions of Highway 169 thus taking that off the state highway system. Minute Order 12 in Jackson County. This approves the installation of signs near the overpass at County Road 41 and Highway 67 to name that area the Sidney Sutherland Memorial Overpass. Minute Order 13, found on page 187, is the minute order which refers to the bid letting, which will happen, scheduled to happen May 19th of this year. And we had a late add, if you will, minute order 14. And this minute order calls for the authorization for the director to conduct a study of new and developing technologies with a focus on the third dimension being air travel. And that concludes the minute orders.
Give us a revenue update. Patrick Patton, mic on. Okay, that's you. That's you. You heard me. Thank you.
All right, I've got mine turned on. I appreciate it, Chairman. We're going to go over the results for March. What we've got is the state highway revenues, their traditional sources, which you see up here, which would be motor fuel, the registration fees, permits, penalties, and other, is down 1.1% or $3.5 million. Natural gas severance is still lower this year compared to last year. It is catching up. But overall, we're down $8.8 million or 2.7% versus last year. If we look at budgeted versus actual, budget versus actual, we're up 6.2% or 18.3 million above projected for the year. The majority of that is in motor fuel. We're up $20.9 million, 10.5%. Moving on to Act 416, which is the budget versus actual. It's pretty flat. It's going pretty well according to what we'd planned out. Overall, 0.6 million up, 1.4% up. So far, of the 41.9 million of motor fuel, 22.6 million is gas and 19.3 million is diesel, and then the registration fees are at 1.7 million. If we go on to fuel consumption, we're down 57.5 million gallons in gas. We're up 13.1 million in diesel. Overall, we're down 44.8 million gallons or 2.7%. If you look at that on a revolving 12-month basis, overall we're down 5.47%. The majority of that is gas at 7.85% down, or 119 million gallons.
Patrick,
Yes.
how does that translate to dollars? No, that's gallons, diesel and gas, and maybe this is a stupid question, but does that, can you assume then that the revenue is down 5.47, or is it something different than that?
Yes, you can make that assumption. There are other factors that go into it as far as timing of collections, and you know there's a month lag.
But the tax is the same with diesel as it is gas
No,
per gallon.
no. There's 24.5 cents for gas and 26.5 for diesel. Is that right, Randy? Does that sound right? 28 For diesel, okay. And when you look at what is just on the 416 side, there was a 3% increase and a 6-cent increase. But yes, they are not the same.
They're not the same. So just gallons doesn't tell you, the total down here really doesn't.
They don't go.
Right.
If you take one times.
Dollars and gallons don't mix.
No.
On that.
They do
Okay.
not. There are other things, other factors in there.
Right. Okay.
Like I said, timing is one of them.
Right. Okay, thank you.
On sales tax, as you see on the slide right now, we're up 13 million for the year over DFNA's projections. I do have April's numbers, which were very shocking. 6.8 million above DFNA's projections just for April. So it came in at 23.6 versus their 16.8 projection. So if you take that into account, instead of being 13 million above the projection, it's 19.9 million above projection. So that's a very good month. Obviously, the highest month that I've seen is 2.5 million, and that was this year, earlier this year in October. Reached out to DFNA, and the only explanation that they had was probably tax returns and then the stimulus being utilized. So if we move to the projected versus actual for the entire program of the half-cent sales tax, we're up 0.67% or 9.4 million. If you take into account April's figures, we're at 16.2 million over the projections for the life of the program and 1.14% above. And that concludes my report. Any questions? Thank you.
Good news. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Patrick.
Okay, at this point in time, I will turn the remainder of the meeting over to our director. So,
Right.
Madam Director, it's all yours.
Thank you, Chairman. Next up, we have Kevin Thornton, our Assistant Chief of Administration. He's going to give us an update on federal highway and transit issues.
Thank you, Director Tudor. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, I have two plans to tell you about today. Both of them address infrastructure, but because they are so different, it is difficult to compare them. The first infrastructure plan is from President Biden. It has been named the American Jobs Plan. It totals $2.3 trillion over 8 years. This amount does not include what's needed for reauthorization of the FAST Act. This plan is on top of or over and above the current funding level of the FAST Act. It does include an additional investment of $621 billion for transportation infrastructure. Some of the key investment areas for transportation include a $115 billion increase over the current FAST Act levels for highways and bridges. It also includes $174 billion for electric vehicles. You can see the other areas of investment up on the screen. Also included in the President's plan is a proposal on how this plan can be paid for. Payment would come from the President's Made in America tax plan, which is estimated to raise more than $2 trillion over the next 15 years. The tax plan includes increases to various corporate tax rates, elimination of tax breaks for fossil fuel companies, and an increase in tax enforcement on corporations. Now, the President has stated that he knows that compromise is inevitable. He has also said that he is willing to have that debate. So in response to his plan, we have another plan to tell you about, and that is the second infrastructure plan from the Senate Republicans. Their plan does include the amount for reauthorization of the FAST Act. It totals $568 billion over 5 years. The largest investment area for transportation is $299 billion for highways and bridges. And you can see the rest of the areas of their plan up on the screen as well. The Senate Republicans' plan also states how it can be paid for. It proposes user fees for electric vehicles, along with repurposing of unused federal funding that was provided from the previous $1.9 trillion stimulus bill. Now, while all these infrastructure investment proposals are significantly different in terms of funding levels, length of the terms of the bills, areas of expenditures, the important part is that the discussions that are currently taking place in Washington show strong bipartisan interest in increasing investment in transportation. And with this in mind, we will keep you apprised of any new developments regarding our federal funding. That concludes my report, Director Tudor. Yes, sir.
I have read, and now I've not read anything, I don't think, about the $299 billion in the Republican plan that goes to highways and bridges, but on the $115 billion from the president's plan, I've been told and I've read that only goes to repair of current infrastructure, and none of that goes to building new infrastructure. Do you know the facts regarding that? Am I being misled?
Well, at this point, a lot of the discussion is very high level of the program.
Mm-hmm.
They have made the statement that it will repair so many miles of our existing roadways
Right.
and so many bridges. So it certainly leads you to that conclusion. But I don't know that restraint or confinement to expenditure on only those existing facilities is part of their plan. Again, I think this was an effort by both sides to begin that discussion and to let you see where they're at and how they hope they're able to move the country forward by increasing investment in our transportation systems.
Yeah. Well, Mr. Chairman, just for what it's worth, I hope whatever plan is approved, that it's not restricted to just repair of current highways and bridges, but goes further and allows us to spend money to build new highways, particularly the ones we have on the drawing board, as you know.
May I interject here for a minute? I just wanted to say that I actually was on a phone call with our American Association of State Highway and Transportation Officials talking about these plans and what they mean. And they're currently, that group, AASHTO, is working on getting input from all the state DOTs to formulate how we want to, policy, how we want to see this funding, what it would be for, how it could be used, the rules that will apply. So we still have that opportunity to make our voice heard.
Good.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
One question. Is there any talk about making the Highway Trust Fund whole again? In other words, funding the obligations that, and I don't really know the process, but I understand there's kind of a mathematical thing that they use on the trust fund because they borrowed against it in the past. Is there any talk to make that, because that could certainly affect what we get in the future through the normal times. Is there any talk on that, making the trust fund whole?
Part of the discussion here is that the current FAST Act, we're anywhere from 12 to 15 billion each year. It takes in less than the spending levels. It's 12 to 15 billion dollars less taken in versus what is spent. And so these proposals, and give both sides the credit on this, they're telling you how they can pay for their plans, but they did not address how they could pay for the shortfall, the existing shortfall on the Highway Trust Fund. So hopefully that will be part of the discussion as well in moving the plan forward. It's a very good question. Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Kevin. I just wanted to follow up on one comment from Commissioner Gibson, just editorial comment, but I agree with you, and I wish both sides would pull out the Eisenhower playbook and go back on infrastructure and really take a new mighty muscle of what this country can do to meet the current demands in our traffic system. So I join you. We're on the same page there.
Thank you, Kevin. Great update. Appreciate you.
Yeah, we have a couple we bring right to the forefront there.
Okay, so next on the agenda, I've got Randy Ort to give you a update on the now completed 93rd General Assembly.
Thank you, Director. Good morning, everybody. Well, the 93rd General Assembly isn't officially over, but from our standpoint, we believe it essentially is. The members have all gone home for the time being. They're scheduled to reassemble later this year to take on the huge task of redistricting, but happy to report to you today that from our perspective, we feel pretty good about the way the session has gone. On the screen, you'll see there you go. On the screen, you'll see these are the bills that we included in our legislative package. If you'll remember last fall, you all adopted a plan that we had to submit to Legislative Council ahead of time for their review. The governor got a copy of it as well, and this was the plan that we were to stick with. If you'll look at the first 5 items you see on there, Senate Bill 102 through Senate Bill 105, through 106, those were our retirement bill package. I'm happy to say everything went through just fine with that. These bills, there was really no significant immediate impact to existing employees or retirees. These bills were designed to enhance the long-term strength and stability of the retirement system, and so we're very happy those got through. The next 5 bills you'll see under that, that's basically what the legislative package was. We made some slight changes to the employee oath of office. We changed the weight threshold for what's considered a commercial vehicle from 10,001 pounds up to 26,001 pound to coincide with federal law there. We also had a couple of changes to our relocation assistance citations in Arkansas Code. We had to update those to reflect the proper federal codes to bring us into alliance there. We also increased the maximum vehicle allowed, the height on state highways from 13.5 feet to 14 feet. This brings us more aligned with surrounding states in this region. The bottom bill you see listed, even though it wasn't part of the official package that you all adopted, it's probably the most important bill up there. That is our appropriations bill for the next fiscal year, and I'm happy to say that it went through with very, very little fanfare this year. So very pleased with the way our legislative package went. Look, if you don't remember any of the left-hand column or any of the words on the screen, just remember the right-hand column on the screen is all green and they're all act numbers. That's the important thing. All right, the next screen you'll see, we call this watched bills. You know, every legislative session, bills get filed that could potentially impact us. Sometimes we know about them ahead of time. Many times we don't know about them ahead of time. And so this session was no different in that regard. The first bill you'll see on the screen is one we were expecting. This is the Guidehouse Efficiency Review recommendations. You may or may not remember we went through an efficiency review for about 18 to 20 months there for a while. It came out with recommendations, and the director sat there with the bill sponsor in committee and to show our support for this, so that passed. If you'll remember, Act 416 of 2019 created a new fee for electric and hybrid vehicles. $200 for electric vehicles, $100 for hybrid vehicles. Very, very early in the session, there was a bill filed that would do away, it would keep the electric vehicle fee, but it would completely do away with the hybrid vehicle fee. The bill you see on the screen, Senate Bill 225, which is now Act 376, is kind of a compromise bill to kind of offset what they were trying to do by getting rid of that fee. So in the end, what we still have a $200 annual fee for electric vehicles. There is still a $100 annual fee for plug-in hybrid vehicles. Those are vehicles that primarily have an electric engine that must be charged. They have a backup or secondary gasoline engine that kicks in occasionally. there was a new classification created for non-plug-in hybrids, and that additional fee is $50 annually. That's for vehicles that are basically a gasoline motor. They do have a very small electric motor that kicks in occasionally, but that motor is charged by the gasoline engine. Okay, so we have a new category there, so we're pleased with that compromise, the way it came out. Be careful driving in the left-hand lane of multi-lane highways going forward. It is now for passing only. That bill will require us to go out and have to install some new signage, but otherwise we didn't take a position on that. Made it easier for the Commission to dispose of surplus property. More importantly, we made it easier for interested individuals to purchase that surplus property. That's what Senate Bill 579, Act 783 is. House Bill 1375, now Act 675, designates the Hot Springs Bypass extension currently under construction. It will eventually be Highway 5. It designates that route as a scenic highway. The legislature has that authority to designate that. Another bill we're very excited about that was brought to us was the Transportation Research Related Grant Program you all are familiar with, where we can go out to colleges and universities in the state. They can apply for these funds for research projects. The contracting community came to us, and there's a great need for additional workforce development training out there for construction individuals. And they asked if we would add workforce development, or if we would be oppose or support adding workforce development to that program. And so that bill went through, and I think that's going to be a very good thing for us and for the contracting community. Also, another bill that came up was about road millings. Many times when we go out and do an improvement project, an overlay type work, we grind off the top inch, 2 inches of asphalt, and those are referred to as road millings. And they can be a very valuable commodity sometime. And this allows us in certain cases to give all of the millings on a project to the county in which the project is located in. On larger projects, we can still keep a certain amount for our use, but we can designate the rest as surplus, and we can also give those to the county where the project is located. The bottom bill there, House Bill 1674, authorizes an annual permit for the moving of forestry equipment. This is a bill that we've been in discussions with since the end of the 2019 session. This has nothing to do with log trucks. This is the equipment that's used to harvest timber. It has gotten very large, very heavy, and people in this industry have had to get a permit every time they went to move, which can be anywhere from 12 to 20 times a year. Sometimes they're in very remote locations. It's very difficult for them to access the internet or cell phone to get that permit. So we worked out where we can now issue an annual permit for those individuals. So that was the way we worked with the logging industry to see that bill come to fruition. The next page. These are the bills that obviously gave us the most concern, that we either opposed or we remained neutral on. First one is probably the bill that got the most attention from us this time, House Bill 1495. This would have allowed 90,000-pound log trucks on state highways. That was something that we could not get behind. Where this bill came from is during the pandemic, log trucks were given an exemption for about 9 months where they could carry more than 80,000, more than 85. They were given up to 90,000 pounds. And when that exemption was repealed in the middle of December, that is when this industry decided, well, if it was good enough for 9 months, we should try to make it permanent. And it made it out of committee, but it failed on the House floor, but vote was expunged, and it's now going to be sent to interim study. There was also a bill that would change the language in a couple of constitutional amendments. We stayed out of that bill since we're still involved in litigation and lawsuits on that. That bill also did not make it off the Senate floor in this case and is said to be sent to interim study. There was a bill that would have removed our exemption from Arkansas procurement laws. We've been exempt from regular procurement laws here in Arkansas since 1947. There's a reason for that. We do a tremendous number of contracts. We do a tremendous number of very unique contracts. Of course, 1953, Commission became independent. That brought a different perspective to it as well. We got word of this bill. The director and some others actually met with the sponsor and were able to explain some potential unintended consequences from that bill that the sponsor had not thought of. That bill was withdrawn and never ran. Finally, HJR 1009 was a constitutional amendment to change the structure of the commission and make you function more as other agencies do, and that bill was not selected for referral to the people. So overall, we'd have to say it was a pretty good session, and with that, Mr. Chair, Director, I'll turn it back over to you.
I just want to comment on the session we just finished. Of course, it was my first session as director, and my takeaway from all the work and everything that went on was that it was a good session. And I think that overall we created some great relationships with some of the legislators down there. I feel very, very positive and confident that we did a good job, but the reason we did such a great job is the staff that was involved. First off, I have to recognize Gil Rogers. He's our legislative or governmental relations officer. He's our liaison with the legislature, and he does an excellent job. He's got the right personality. He knows how to talk to them. He knows how to, he knows when to let me know if I need to set up a meeting. He sets up meetings. He's just there. He's got his ear to the ground. He knows what's going on, and he has done an excellent job. He's excelled in his duties this session, and we couldn't have done what we did without him. He just has a great knack for relationship building. So, Gil, thank you for your great service this session. Thank you so much. Also, someone on our staff that does an excellent job is Robin Smith. She takes care. She's our Asher's retirement secretary. I get compliments on her all the time because, as you can imagine, the employees' retirement system is a very emotionally charged subject for a lot of people. But she is able to make sure our employees, our retirees, understand what's going on. You don't end up with busloads of retirees showing up at a committee meeting down at the legislature because she knows what she's doing. She makes sure they understand what's going on, and she also is able to explain to our legislators and get those things done that need to be done to keep our system so strong and viable. And we have absolutely, I think, one of the best retirement systems around. Jeff Bickerstaff, Major Bickerstaff, he can't be here today. He's taking a well-deserved vacation, but he is our interim chief of highway police, and he was thrown into the deep end, thrown into the fire, and he excelled. He was able to talk to the legislators about highway police issues. He was able to testify for different bills. He went down that log equipment bill that was so important to the logging industry. He went above and beyond. He went down and he worked with the representative that was so interested in that to make sure that legislation was written in a way that made sense for everyone involved. And then also, I would be remiss not to talk about our industry partners, our stakeholder partners. We had the stakeholders group, the Roads and Bridges Coalition, that came together and is the reason, probably the main reason, along with the governor's support, that Issue 1 passed. But they have remained an entity. They are staying together, and every time we needed help during this session, they came. And they stood in our corner to protect highways, to make sure that we continue the progress that we started with Issue 1. So I can't say enough how much I appreciate them coming and standing with us for issues that are important to roads. And that would include the Arkansas County Judges Association. They were a great support during this session. The Arkansas Trucking Association. I'll just have a shout out for Shannon Newton. She understands the legislative process, and she was a great resource for me going through this. The Arkansas State Chamber of Commerce, the Arkansas Asphalt Pavers Association, the Arkansas General Contractors, Arkansas Good Roads Foundation, just so many folks that came to our, just were there for us. Associated Builders and Contractors, they came and stood with us on certain bills. So I know I'm probably not mentioning all of them, but they're very, very important to us, and we really should all, as a commission and as the department, just give them a special thank you for their support. And that's all I've got.
Thank you, Director, and certainly the Commissioner. I appreciate you recognizing all those deserving persons and entities, and Commission joins you and commends you and your leadership in directing the traffic out there through the session. Great job. No pun intended.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to send kudos out to Randy also for his daily reports that we received on the activity of the session. It was I read them every evening, and after I read them, I felt like, wow, it was just about as good as being there. So I really appreciate the great report that we got every day, and from Randy during the session.
I've got to add, I forgot this, because the people closest to you take for granted the most, right? Like your family and such. And he's like family to me. But anytime I said, Randy, I can't be there, go down there. You need to go down there, make sure if someone needs a test. I never bat an eye. If I can't do something, I know Randy can do it for me. He gives me great advice. I've talked to him. He said, "You're going to sleep on there, right?" Stuff like that. So, I didn't mean to forget him. I'm sorry, Randy, but I couldn't do what I do without you.
Well, I appreciate that. Real quick, I appreciate the compliment. Hopefully, reading that was better than being down there. Okay, but listen, they went out with my name at the bottom, but Gil started it. His staff worked on it. Kevin went through it. Kevin sent it out if I wasn't able to. So trust me, it might have had my name at the bottom, but it was a group effort as well.
This was the second session that we've had, full session, since I've been on the commission, and I can't even remember how we kept up with it the first session, but this time it was far and above better than anything we've had before.
I like the part where it said we're going to be moved out of our office.
I would certainly join that, and you know what they say about the message and the messenger. Well, Randy gets great thumbs up all the way around because he kept delivering good messages that the director just went over. So thank you all. Great job.
For upcoming events, it's pretty light. I won't go through all of them. The major one I'd like for you to focus on is on May 25th. We're going to have a Mayflower Railroad overpass groundbreaking. This is a project that Congressman French Hill was very, very interested in, so we're coordinating with his office to make sure he's there. And as we get the details ironed out, we'll make sure all of you are aware of it. Maybe you can pencil that date in on your calendar, so if you want to attend, you'll have the opportunity to. Other than that, I have a couple of speaking events, but other than that, the next Highway Commission meeting is June 16th. We'll have a pretty hefty meeting that time, so we'll be going over the budget. But prior to that, hopefully about a month before, I'll be sending the budget to you and setting up, if you want to, meetings with me and Randy to sit down and go over it to completely understand the budget. And it's pretty complicated, so it's going to take some time to really go over it with you guys. And then on June 17th, the day after the commission meeting, is our Arkansas Good Roads Executive Board meeting, which Chairman Moore is part of that executive committee. So with that, let's go to other business and discussion. And I would like to bring Mark Umeda up to the podium. Mark, can you come up? I want to give you a brief update on the 30 Crossing litigation that's going on, just to keep you informed, since that's an ongoing challenge.
Good morning. As you can probably tell, I'm not Rita Looney, the chief counsel here. I am Mark Umeda. I'm a staff attorney. I've worked with Rita on a couple, we'll call them interesting cases over the past couple years. There are 2 federal NEPA cases still pending and 2 state court Amendment 91 funding cases still pending. One of the NEPA cases is 630, and the other one is Interstate 30 Crossing. And NEPA stands for the National Environmental Policy Act, and it requires agencies to examine the potential environmental impacts of projects. These 2 lawsuits, like I said, are in federal court and are really claims against the Federal Highway Administration. But the department is part of these cases because they are department projects. We work closely with FHWA during this litigation, and we've filed a motion for summary judgment in both these cases in the fall and are still awaiting decisions on those cases. The plaintiffs in these cases are challenging the environmental evaluations completed by RDOT and FHWA. The plaintiffs claim that the department and FHWA did not adequately study the potential environmental impacts of the project, and they want FHWA and RDOT to reevaluate them. Like I said, we filed motions for summary judgment based on the pleadings this past fall and are still awaiting decisions on those. And there are 2 cases in state court that are challenging the department's use of Amendment 91 funds. In the Bonito case, the plaintiffs challenged the spending of Amendment 91 funds on 30 Crossing and 630. The substantive litigation has ended, but the defendants are challenging the plaintiffs' request for attorney's fees. The plaintiffs have not asked for a specific number regarding attorney's fees, but they believe that approximately $4 to $25 million is reasonable. A hearing is scheduled on those attorney's fees on May 19th. The last case is the Little Rock Downtown Neighborhood Association case, and the plaintiffs there is similar to the case in the Bonito case, and they are challenging the use of Amendment 91 funds on 9 other projects. These projects use Amendment 91 funds to widen 4-lane highways, existing 4-lane highways, and plaintiffs are contending that this is impermissible under the amendment. The defendants had filed a motion to dismiss, which was denied. However, we have filed a motion for reconsideration last week and are awaiting a court's decision on those. These cases have obviously kept us pretty busy, but they are moving forward towards a resolution, and I'm sure myself or Ms. Looney will provide updates as we move along.
Thank you, Mark. And finally, the last other business I'd like to bring to your attention is the proceeds from our equipment auction that we held on April 14th. We sold 28 trucks, and gross proceeds were $200,800. This was at the request of Chairman Moore. You had been getting, I think you had been asked about, are we going to hold our auction? Well, we didn't hold the auction back in last fall because of COVID. And so we held one this spring, a small one, off-site because of the interest by, private industry that they like to come to our auctions and buy our used equipment. So we did really well at this auction, and we'll still have the major auction in this coming fall. So I'd like to end my report there, Chairman.
And I want to thank Danny Keene and his staff for putting this together. It was prompted by some inquiry from some local farmers due to the shortage in the truck market to bring some of these items that were ready to go on to auction, and I did get some real positive feedback from the auction from a couple of folks that had requested that they were happy to have our good maintenance items to select from there.
Well, that's the end of our report.
Okay. Well, we have one other unscheduled item of business.
Is this a pink slip? People are looking at me funny.
This walk up here is intended to have you, Director Turi, Tudor, wonder what the heck is going on. That's what we're doing. This is sort of a highlight of my privilege of serving as chairman of the commission, because I'm up here on behalf of the commission to say thank you, Director Tudor, and you can come on up here. I'm going to not ramble on, because we have a document that I am going to read to you on behalf of the commission that tells you how much we appreciate you and what you have done. And as I read through the document, and I'm going to read it out loud for you and everyone, we left off one of the obvious things that I'll just start off with, and that is we want to thank you for being to us individually and as a commission a friend, both professionally and personally, and we're deeply grateful for that. And how appropriate to come up and thank you after you just spent the time doing what great leaders do, and that's thanking the people that bring you success. Before I read this, I have to tell you, as we were putting this together, I was working with Randy on the wording of the document, and we were kind of coming to a conclusion before we passed it around to all the commission for their agreement. And as we were coming to the conclusion, last email I had from Randy was, if you like the words, we can put the document in a variety of different formats, something between a carved granite and the back of a napkin. So we opted out of the carved granite, and we wanted to do something a little more than the back of the napkin. So we purposely chose just doing a sort of an informal letter, because we just wanted to let you know it's from the heart. So with that lead in, this is what we think. Dear Laurie, the job of Director of the Arkansas Department of Transportation is, without question, one of the most challenging positions in all of state government. Meeting expectations of the public as well as elected officials, impossible. On February the 20th, 2020, we named you director, Laurie H. Tudor, professional engineer, and you took over those duties on March 23rd, 2020. We shouldn't have to remind anyone of what has happened since March the 20th. We had COVID-19, travel was down, revenue was down, still projects to deliver, contracts to fulfill, no staff on site, remote work for the first time in history, middle of our first design build project, the 30 Crossing, middle of a campaign for major long-term funding package, middle of unprecedented efficiency review, a biennial legislative budget process in the fall, and finally the legislative session in early 2021. Given all that, we want to commend you and to congratulate you on your successful first year, but more importantly, we want to say thank you. Thank you for your willingness to take on these duties. Thank you for your willingness to be a trailblazer as the first female to serve as director. Thank you for your perseverance and dedication to learning what it takes to be director. Thank you for the tenacity you showed by standing up for the department and its employees. Thank you for the leadership you have displayed in the face of all these challenges. And most importantly, thank you for confirming our decision to name you as our director. And as I started out, thank you for being our friend. So. Let's have the rest of the commission. Would y'all come on up, please? Take a few little photos here. Yeah. Let's get everybody in the picture here.
started reading it, that seemed a lot longer than.
Thank you. Congratulations.
I even agreed with him. No question.
I just want to say I'm completely surprised and not prepared. I wish I was, because I just think thank you's not enough, and I'm just sitting here trying not to burst into tears. So there you go. But I will say that this has been a challenging year, but the support of the commission, you have been so I've never felt like I was out there on my own. I always felt I had you had my back, or you got out front if you needed to. You know, I never felt it's been a great year. It has been a great year. And I just want to say thank you to the staff. And the same thing. I'm standing up here taking and just amazed at this honor, and I feel very undeserving because I have such a great staff and such a great commission. So, but thank you. I'll put this in my office with pride. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Laurie. Any further business? Not, that will conclude our hearing to date. We are adjourned.